Hi everyone, in this hand history I am playing day 1A of a Wynn $2,200 buy-in, 1.5 million guaranteed tournament. I late registered, so it is big blind 500 and I have the 30k starting stack. I am brand new to this tournament. I've maybe been here in orbit. My table draw is largely recreational players with a couple pros, one of whom I am good friends with. And I am dealt the King of Hearts and the Seven of Hearts in mid position 1. Now most of the table has around 20 to 40k for the most part, so we're just going to look at this spot from my perspective of 60 big blinds in MP1. As you can see here, King 7 suited is a partial open, and I get to open about 20% of hands here. However, my table draw, largely recreational players. The big blind is a recreational player, the small blind, button are all recreational players. So I've got a very soft table. Because of that, I am not opening 20%. In actuality, I'm probably opening more like 26 to 28%. I'm gonna open this ace-2 suited, I'm opening these in full, I'm opening these, I'm opening all these suited connectors down to 5-4, opening deuces in full, threes in full, queen jack off, jack 10, queen 10, king jack off. I'm opening all of those in full. So I'm not really getting too far outside of theory, except in terms of these hands that are all partial opens, I'm fully opening. And I might open like a pip outside with these like suited connectors and this suited single gapper and queen 8 suited. So I'm only going to get a little bit out of line, but I'm still opening 28% instead of 20%. In theory, that is a massive deviation. I am going to get completely destroyed on a tough table. Very soft table. It is really, really, really important that I open outside of theory. Really, really, really important in terms of having a high win rate in these games. The reason being is the main profitable situation in tournaments, the ability to continuation bet. C-bets make so much money. They are insanely, insanely, insanely profitable. That is where the vast majority of your real edge comes from in tournaments, is having the opportunity to C-bet and actually be able to take those opportunities. If you pull up your PT4 database and you look at just continuation bet opportunities and you look at your big blinds 1 as well as your BB per 100, BB per 100 is always through the roof, but yeah, those big blinds 1 are going to equate to a very large portion of your profitability in terms of big blinds. So C-betting is life. So why do you get to open looser than theory against weaker recreational players? Well, it's because they significantly under 3-bet. Them under 3-betting means that every hand in your opening range gets to over-realize equity. Why do you over-realize equity? Because you get more C-bet opportunities. C-bet opportunities equals profits. So King 7 of Hearts here, very, very easy open, incredibly profitable spot. So I raise to 1100, folds to the big blind, who is a recreational player who calls off of a 40k stack. The flop is the 10 of spades, the 6 of spades, and the 3 of spades. So the pot size is 3k. We're heads up to this flop. King 7 of Hearts, so I do not have a flush draw, I do not have a pair, I got nada. The big blind checks to me. So in this spot, with it being a monotone board, MP1 versus big blind theory, I get to c-bet this pretty much in full. Probably have a very small percentage of checkbacks. I'm largely just going to be c-betting, and I'm just going quarter pot. But in game versus weak recreational player, with my weak hands, I definitely want to go quarter pot. So all these hands here, anything that's pretty weak, I'm just going quarter pot. But with my strong hands, which theory does go larger a tiny bit, but with my strong hands, my ace X of spades, my sets, my 2 pairs, my aces, kings, queens, jacks, ace 10 type hands, jack 10 even, what am I doing? I am not betting a quarter pot with any of those hands. I am purely going 2/3 pot, or even potting. Jack 10, probably going 2/3. Ace, deuce of spades, I am potting that. Why? Because weak recreational player who I've never played with in my life, how are they going to perceive a bet from me of that size? They might not even realize it's a big bet. They might just go, oh, he bet. Okay, what am I doing versus a bet? Do I like my hand? If yes, call. If no, fold. Which I realize that thought process sounds very simplistic, but a large percentage of recreational players in these tournaments, especially if they do not play regularly, will have a thought process that isn't too far off of that. So when I do bet 2K here, I'm not going to be perceived to have only strong hands. Instead, I'm just going to be perceived by the fact that I bet and whether or not they want to call. So when I do bet 800 here and he calls, I'm not going to read too much into the call outside of if they had a set, 2 pair, or flush, they would probably check raise. They certainly can't have strong hands yet. I do think they can maybe have a hand like ace 10 with the ace of spades or king 10 with the king of spades. But I think for the most part, they're going to have 10x, 6x, 3x, or a flush draw. That is going to be the vast majority of their range here. I don't think they're going to have strong hands. So I go quarter pot and he calls. Turn is the queen of diamonds. Now, in the past, when I saw this situation, I would go, you know, king 7 here on this turn, it's not very good. You know, I don't block any flushes. My hand is just kind of bad. And because of that, I'm just going to check and give up in this spot. However, this queen is such a good card for my range that I get to bet this a lot. And with my exact hand, look at this. I just get to bet. I love it. This is a great card. We love it. We're betting. Now, what we need to be very careful of in this spot is, yes, it is a good card, and yes, we do get to barrel. But we also need to be careful of the fact that our opponent probably isn't going to be very capable of finding certain folds versus us. So if we are barreling this turn card, we're probably going to need to fire a decent amount of triple barrels, especially with our exact hand. On top of that, depending on exact runouts, we're also going to need to be very careful in terms of whether or not we think we can get a hand like a 10 to fold, which is certainly going to be a decent portion of the range in terms of what we're trying to get folds from on the river. So while we certainly want to barrel this card, we definitely need to be treading very carefully, because one of the other cardinal rules of poker, recreational players really dislike to fold unless it is like blatantly in their face that it is a terrible card for them. So because of that, while knowing this is a good barrel spot and taking it is certainly a very good thing to do, you definitely want to tread carefully. So he checks to me and I decide to bet. What size do I pick though? Do I go this 2/3 pot? No. I instead bet 2,100 into a pot size of 4,600 for about 45% pot. Why? Well, I think that bet's going to perform the exact same as this 2/3 pot. So I get to save about 1,000 in chips. So I'm saving chips in each of these spots where I'm trying to leverage him off of his weaker hands. On top of that, I'm also going to be continuing only on certain river cards, depending on how confident he seems with the call. Key information. So I barrel. He calls. Now, there are a lot of rivers that I am not bluffing on. I'm not going to bluff on a queen. I'm not going to bluff on a 10. I might bluff on a 6, but I'm not super thrilled about it. Main cards I want to bluff on are aces, jacks, 9s, 8s. Those cards are all really good bluff cards for me. I also don't mind bluffing on spades, but not super thrilled with spades. I'm largely looking for an ace, a jack, a 9, an 8. River is offsuit jack. Spoiler, this is definitely one of the cards that I was looking for, and definitely a card I'm going to follow through on. But let's see what if theory agrees with this too. Look at this. Loves it. It loves it so much. King 7, no suit blocker, no nada. It is just going for it. Why? Because this run out for us is amazing. It's good for such a large portion of our range. Our hand has 0 showdown value. And in the past, the way that I would think about these spots is I would go, in order to bluff this river, don't I need to have a spade in my hand? Don't I need to have the king of spades or the ace of spades as a bluff? No. In fact, not only that, not only do you not need to have it as a bluff, it's better to not have it as a bluff here, because you want them to have a type of hand that can call, fold. King of Spades X, call, fold. Ace of Spades X, call, fold. So by not having those cards in your hand, you give a lot more of their range possible folds. So unblocking those folds makes shoving this, well, betting large on this river very, very, very profitable. And actually, we could jam here. We could go this full 235% punt. We could shove it, and it would perform very well, theory-wise. In game, though, I don't see much of a reason to go all in. That being said, I definitely want to bet large. We are trying to get them to fold a jack. We're trying to get them to fold a 10. We're trying to get them to fold even a queen. So in order to generate folds, we're going to need to bet very, very, very large. So I bet 10,000 into a pot size of 8,800 and got snapped off by the ace of spades and the queen of hearts. So I got crushed. I lost. I sat down. This is like my 5th hand at the table. I lose 1,100 from my open, 800 from my c-bet, 2,100 from my barrel, and 10,000 from my triple for a total loss of 14K, or almost half my stack on, I want to say it's like my 3rd hand at table. Did I play this hand well? Yeah. What happened? I lost. That happens a lot in poker. Sometimes you have a good situation, you follow through on it, and you lose. And you can lose in a lot of different ways. You can lose because you got a flip. You can lose because you got coolered. You can lose because of all these other reasons. And some of the times, the reason why you lose is because you had a good triple barrel spot, you took it, and you got caught. I was bluffing with my muffin and got crushed by a hand that is, of course, always going to call me. So, in this spot, how would I know if I made a bad bluff? Let's say they called me with a hand like 10-9 with no spade. Okay, maybe then my bluff is bad. Or like 6-7, no spade. Okay, then yeah, my bluff is bad. When they have a hand that pretty much everyone's going to call with, I'm not too fussed about it. How to know whether or not these spots are going to be good bluffs or bad bluffs? Well, if it's a good theory bluff, it's probably okay-ish, at least. But it doesn't always mean it's a good bluff. How to know whether or not your opponent's going to be capable of finding certain folds? Pay attention. That's why you should be watching action at the table. Why you should be making sure, you know, what ranges people are showing up with in spots, what they're opening with, what they're calling open with, well, what they're getting to turns and rivers with. If you're paying attention and you're noting what type of opponent you're playing up against, what types of hands are likely to show up with, and whether or not they're capable of folding certain hands, it's going to make these types of decisions a lot easier for you to follow through on. Moral of the story, sometimes you just gotta bluff, you get caught, and then you keep on grinding. Thank you for watching this video. Stay safe and healthy out there. Best of luck at the tables. Also, have you guys been enjoying the, moral of this hand, or, why I posted this hand? Let me know in the comments if you enjoy this little wrap up. I think I like it. I like having a nice little wrap up at the end, and I think that, explaining why I picked this hand and what factors I think make it a good spot worth learning, I think it's worth saying. So, I think I'm going to keep doing it. I don't know if I like the term moral, but let me know what you think. Anyways, like I said, thank you for watching. Stay safe and healthy out there. See ya.